Today, I am sharing a story that will chill you to the bone. It's about a 17-year-old girl from Japan named Junko Furuta who endured unimaginable horrors for 40 days. The brutality she faced was so extreme that it caused a man in the courtroom to faint when the details were presented. Before we dive in, a word of caution. This story is not for the faint of heart, especially children. Brace yourself as we uncover the distressing tale of Junko Furuta. On 23rd January 1989 in Tokyo, the capital of Japan, the Japanese police arrested two boys from a place called Ayase, a few kilometers from Tokyo, for raping a 19-year-old girl. One of them named Hiroshi Miyano and the name of the other one was Joe Ugura, and both of them were friends. After this, when the police analyzed their past records, it came to the light that both of them are junior members of Japan's dangerous criminal gang Yakuza. Having already faced allegations of numerous minor offenses, the investigation persisted over a course of more than 2 months. Then, on 29th March 1989, Japanese authorities discovered a woman's undergarment at their residence. Prompted by this discovery, police opted for a rigorous interrogation for both suspects. Following this, the police had both individuals seated in separate rooms for questioning, yet neither uttered a word. Then it struck the investigators that just 4 months prior in Ayase, a woman and her 7-year-old son were discovered dead. Could these suspects also be linked to this tragic incident? The police took a gamble and confronted Hiroshi Miyano, suggesting they were aware of his involvement in another murder. Miyano, upon hearing this, grew fearful, suspecting his friend Ogura in the adjacent room had revealed everything. The police tactic paid off, and after persistent effort, Miyano eventually cracked and confessed to the murder. It marked a significant breakthrough for the authorities, who had initially been investigating a rape case only to uncover a homicide. Following this revelation, the police inquired about the location of the body, and Miyano disclosed where it had been disposed. On that day, the police and their team arrived at Kota, a coastal area within Tokyo. They began their investigation by searching the surroundings. Soon, they stumbled upon a large drum hidden away in an empty area, and it contains covered in cement. Detecting a peculiar odor emanating from the drum, the police promptly called for a crane to lift the 305 kg container, transporting it away for further examination. Upon breaking the concrete and extracting the contents from the drum, a dark discovery was made of a lifeless body of a girl emerged. Sadly, the remains were severely decomposed, making her face unrecognizable. It appeared she had been dead for an estimated 2 to 3 months. The police then tried to identify her through fingerprint analysis. When her identity was finally revealed, even the authorities were left shocked by the revelation. Because the body wasn't of the woman the police had initially inquired Miyano about, but rather the body was of Junko Furuta. If the police hadn't taken a shot in the dark, perhaps this case would have never come to light. Anyways, following this revelation, the authorities arranged Junko Furuta body to undergo a post-mortem examination, and now Miyano and Ugura were under questioning regarding this case. Both of them told the entire story, which went something like this. Junko Furuta was a beautiful 17-year-old girl born on 18th January 1971 in the city of Misato, Yamata, Japan. From a young age, she was very intelligent and excelled in her studies. She was a student of Yashio Minami High School in Misato. Junko was determined to achieve something significant through her education, so she was focused solely on her studies and stayed away from partying or hanging out with troublemakers. Her academic brilliance made her popular in school. On October 1988, Junko started working part-time at a plastic molding factory after school. Additionally, she accepted a full-time job at an electronic shop, which she planned to start after her graduation in April the following year. Hiroshi Miyano, a student of that same school, secretly liked her. One day, he asked her out on a date, but Junko, aware of Miyano's reputation, refused his proposal. This rejection infuriated Miyano, who was not used to being turned down. Everyone at the school knew Miyano was a member of Yakuza gang, so they were all scared of him and never dared to oppose him. Junko's refusal filled him with rage and he resolved to take revenge on her, but he couldn't find an opportunity. On the evening of 25th November 1988, Hiroshi Miyano and his friend Nobuharu Minato were riding a moped around Misato, Saitama, looking for someone to rob or an isolated girl to assault. At around 8:30 p.m., Junko Furuta was returning home on her bicycle after her part-time job. By coincidence, Miyano and his friend were in the same area where Junko often passed by. Miyano spots Junko and realizes this is an opportunity he has been waiting for. On Miyano's signal, his friend Nobuharu Minato runs to Junko, pushes her off from her bicycle and then runs away. Miyano then approaches her under the pretense of helping her and acts as if he knows nothing about what happened. He tells Junko that it's late at night and that the attackers might come back, so he offers her to walk her home. Since Junko knows Miyano from school, she trusts him and agrees to go with him. After walking a short distance, Miyano takes her to an abandoned warehouse. Once there, he reveals his true intention and tells her that the person who pushed her was his friend and that they were both a member of Yakuza gang. He threatens her, saying that if she doesn't do as he says or tries to make noise, he will kill her. Terrified by his word, Junko was forced to obey him and then Miyano rapes her. Afterwards, Miyano takes Junko out and they take a taxi to a nearby hotel at around 9:50 p.m. At the hotel, Miyano rapes her again. Once he is done, he calls his friend Nobuharu Minato's house from the hotel room, where their other two friends, Joe Agura and Yasushi Watanabe, were also present. Miyano proudly tells them what he has done to Junko. Hearing this, Joe Agura tells Miyano not to let her go and that they will be joining him shortly. The date changes from 25th November to 26th November 1988 as midnight passes. Around 3 a.m., Miyano takes Junko to a park where his three friends, Joe Agura, Nobuharu Minato and Yasushi Watanabe, were waiting for them. When Junko arrives, they take her school notebook and find her home address. They threaten her by saying that they know where she lives and if she doesn't obey them or tries to escape, their gang members will kill her entire family. Hearing this, Junko felt even more helpless in front of the four boys. They then took her to Minato's house in Ayase district where all four of them gang raped her. This house belonged to Nobuharu Minato, who lived with his parents. However, his parents were mostly away due to work and only occasionally came home. Meanwhile, Junko's parents were worried about why she hadn't returned home yet. They searched for her everywhere but couldn't find any trace of her. As the date changed to 26 November, Junko still hadn't come home. On 27th November 1988, Junko's parents went to the police station and filed a missing person report, prompting the police to start searching for her. When Miyano and his friends found out that the police were looking for Junko, they forced her to call her home and tell her parents that she was out with her friends and was perfectly fine and safe, asking them to withdraw the police complaint. Relieved to hear that their daughter was safe, Junko's parents withdrew the complaint. This gave Miyano and his friend free control, and Minato's house where they kept Junko became the hideout of evil. Friends of Miyano as well as the member of Yakuza gang began frequenting the house, coming and going as they pleased and assaulting Junko. When Minato's parents were home, they forced Junko to act Minato's girlfriend. Out of fear, Junko complied with whatever they asked her to do. However, after some time, Minato's parents realized what was happening. Despite knowing, they did nothing because they knew Miyano was connected to Yakuza gang and that their own son, Minato, was involved in this crime. They chose to remain silent instead of going to the police, and eventually the pretense of being boyfriend and girlfriend also ended. As time passed, the brutality against Junko increased. 7 days went by, and within the first 7 days alone, Junko had been raped more than 100 times. Neither was she provided with proper food, nor she was given water. She was kept naked all day long, and whenever the members of Yakuza gang visited, she was brought before them, danced for them, and then gang raped. She was brutally beaten, forced to drink alcohol, and made to smoke cigarette multiple times a day. Even in the cold of December, she was left naked on the balcony without any clothes. Despite enduring all this torture, they didn't let go of her. Among all this, on ninth day, Junko managed to reach the phone and call the police. The call went through, but before she could say anything, Miyano arrived there and he disconnected the call. After that, when the police called back, Miyano answered and said that it was a wrong number before hanging up. This made Miyano extremely angry and he beat her severely. When he felt unsatisfied, he poured the lighter fluid onto her feet and lit them on fire, burning her feet little by little so that she couldn't run away. Later on 16th day, two boys came to the house and raped her too. However, one of them, after leaving, told his brother about it, who then informed their parents. When the parents heard about it, they reported it to the police. Two policemen arrived at the house of Minato, but unfortunately, Minato's parents were present during the day, and when the police questioned them, they denied knowing anything about such a girl. Hearing this, even the police officers were reassured and they left. If the police had not heard Minato's parents that day and had searched the house, perhaps the end of the brutality against Junko would have come sooner. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. This continued every day, with numerous rape happening to her every single day. Sometimes she would be raped by as many as 12 different people in a single day. She was beaten all day long, tied up with both hands above her head, and beaten like a punching bag until she was almost dead, until blood came out of her nose, making it impossible for her to breathe from her nose, and she had to breathe through her mouth. After smoking cigarette, they extinguished them by rubbing the cigarette on Junko's body and her private parts. Then they lit candle and let the hot wax drip all over her body until the last drop fell on her. They even burned her eyelid with a lighter. She was forced to eat cockroaches and drink her own urine. Additionally, they cut off the part of her left breast. Her entire body was burnt, yet their brutal acts didn't stop there. They repeatedly inserted objects like iron rod, bottle, and scissors into her private parts. Once, they even forced a burning hot light bulb into her. It's horrifying to think how any human could commit such atrocities. It's unimaginable how Junko suffered all this. In my view, those people don't deserve to call themselves as human. Probably there wasn't a single part of Junko's body that wasn't wounded. By the third day, Junko's condition had deteriorated so much that she had to crawl on the floor to go to the bathroom, which sometimes took an hour. By this time, around 100 people had raped her over 400 times. Due to this continuous torture, Junko lost control on her bladder and often she would urinate before reaching the bathroom. Her body had stopped digesting food and even drinking water made her vomit, for which she was beaten again. Junko begged them for death several times, but those monsters didn't even granted her that mercy. As time passed, the wounds on Junko's body began to fester and emit a foul odor, which caused the four men to lose interest in her. But they needed someone to satisfy their depraved desires, so on the night of 27th December 1988, they left Junko at Minato's house and went out. Around 2:30 a.m., they kidnapped a 19-year-old girl, threatened her with knife, took her to the hotel and gang raped her. After they were done, they let her go. This was the same girl whose rape led to the later arrest of Miyano and his friend, as I mentioned you at the beginning. After that, the year 1988 came to an end and the new year of 1989 began. Miyano and his friends were celebrating the new year while Junko was waiting for her death. On 4th January 1989, Miyano lost a lot of money in a game of Mahjong Solitaire, which made him extremely angry. He then went to Minato's house and started taking it out his anger on Junko, beating her severely. After that, all of them began kicking and punching her again. Junko's entire face was swollen, yet that monsters continued dripping hot wax from the candle onto her face. They then led her flat onto the ground and started dropping dumbbells on her stomach, legs and arms. Afterwards, Miyano began pouring lighter fluid on her part of her body and burning her in stages. This torture went on for about 2 hours. Initially, Junko tried to protect herself from the blows, but after a while she stopped responding, essentially becoming a living dead. After this, the four of them left Junko there and went away. However, that night they had used too much lighter fluid and Junko couldn't survive 2 hours long torture. On the night of 4th January 1989, after enduring 40 days of hell, sadly, Junko died. In a way, it was good that she died that night, otherwise, who knows how many more days of brutality she would have to endure. The next day, while the four monsters were roaming around with their gangs, Minato's brother, who was at home and knew everything about Junko, called them and informed them that Junko was been lying still since the previous day and seemed to be dead. Upon hearing this news, the four rushed to Minato's house and confirmed that Junko was indeed dead. They then planned to dispose her body. The four of them wrapped Junko's body into 2 blankets, put it in a large bag and taped it shut. They then brought a large empty 55-gallon oil drum, placed the bag with Junko's body inside the drum and filled it with concrete and cement mix. Around 8 p.m., they loaded the drum onto the truck and drove towards Koto, Tokyo. Koto is a coastal area in Japan, and their plan was to dump the drum into the sea. However, just before reaching the sea, they found an empty, deserted place and decided to leave the drum there instead. When Junko Furuta's story came to the light, it shocked the entire police department. They couldn't believe that humans were capable of such atrocities. Following the testimony of Hiroshi Miyano and Joe Agura, the other two accomplices, Nobuharu Minato and Yasushi Watanabe, were also arrested. However, a regrettable fact was that all four were minors, so the police could not reveal their identities to the public or sentence them to the maximum punishment such as the death penalty. When they were presented in the court, they were referred to as A, B, C and D instead of their real names. Because Junko Furuta's body was found encased in a drum filled with cement and concrete, the case was named as Concrete Encased High School Girl Murder Case. When a journalist of Shukan Bushin magazine heard Junko Furuta's story, he published the name of all the four perpetrators on the front page, stating that their acts were beyond inhumane and they did not deserve any human rights regardless of what law said. When this story spread across Japan and the world, it left everyone in shock. The story was so harrowing that everyone who heard it was moved to tears. When Junko Furuta's mother heard about the crimes committed against her daughter, her mental health deteriorated and she had to seek psychiatric help. 3 days after Junko's body was found, on 2nd April 1989, her funeral was held. Despite Junko not completing her graduation, the principal of her school awarded her parents her graduation certificate. The owner of electronics shop where Junko was supposed to work after graduation gifted the uniform she would have worn to her parents, who placed it in her coffin. If this tragic event had not occurred on 3rd April 1989, it would have been Junko's first day at her job. On July 1990, the Tokyo District Court sentenced Hiroshi Miyano, the leader of the crime, to 17 years in prison, and the other three, Joe Agura, Nobuharu Minato and Yasushi Watanabe, to 6 years. They appealed the sentence to the Tokyo High Court, but the judge extended Miyano's sentence to 3 years, making it 20 years, and increased the sentence of the other three to 9 years each. In his ruling, the judge stated that there were no words in the world to describe the pain Junko Furuta had endured. 2 police officers were suspended for negligence because they had come to Minato's house but left without searching it. The brutal torture and murder of 17-year-old girl shamed humanity. It's unimaginable how Junko Furuta survived those 40 days of hell. Many books, songs, films have been created about Junko's tragic story. A memorial was built at the site where a body was found in Japan, which has since been converted into a park called Wakasu Park. If you visit Japan today, you can still see this park. So, this is the tragic story of Junko Furuta. Thank you for watching this video. I look forward to bringing you more compelling stories and discussion in future. Until next time, take care and stay curious.